Hey guys, it's Ask Away Wednesday, question and answer time, and I wanted to shoot this video, and I am definitely getting sick of recording myself on these videos, but it's much easier to explain some of these more advanced concepts via video than it is to sit there and type them and write them all. So Whitney had a question for me today, basically asking why the change from the original program, which for those of you that aren't familiar with it, was more of a high-fat, low-carbohydrate plan, why the switch over to more of this macros chart and tracking. So I'm going to kind of explain that as, first of all, it's I would consider it an evolution, not necessarily a change. What I mean by that is when I first came up with the program, high fat, low carbohydrate approach, I found that to be very effective for me and for many others as a what I would call a lifestyle approach, meaning a pretty easy philosophy to eat or to follow in terms of eating kind of year round without really a whole lot of work in terms of without counting calories, without tracking. And the original program, we provided carbohydrates pre and post workout, or actually just pre and intra workout. So we had enough carbohydrates to fuel our workouts and to build muscle, but then for the rest of the day and non-workout days, we pretty much went low carbs, high fat, medium protein. So that format, that plan is still very effective. And I have no problem with anybody following that who's getting good results on it. And in fact, that's something that I follow quite a bit, and I love it, and I find it to be pretty easy. But what I did find was a lot of people weren't seeing the fat loss that they had hoped, or as quickly as they had hoped. And the reason for that was when I started to use MyFitnessPal and start doing some math with the calories, it was just too easy for people to get their calories up beyond maintenance, and hard for them to get their calories down low enough to lose fat sometimes, depending on the individual and how much of these higher fat foods and things that they like. So I just found that by tracking, it became a little easier to manage the total calories, which sometimes got out of control with the high fat approach. So the high fat approach is not necessarily bad. It's just easy to get your calories up over 2,000 really quick. Secondly, the lifestyle approach, again, is great for someone who's just kind of looking to lose weight and get to a certain point. But at some point, the macros chart, I would say, is more effective for somebody who's more advanced and looking to take it to the next level. And get really, when we started competition mode, that was because I was working with a lot of athletes who were competing and finding that I needed to dial them in to the next level beyond what the program could do. So the macros chart can take you all the way to pretty much competition shape. So that's kind of the other reason why I like that. And I found that for individuals that just wanted to start off with that approach, it was a faster way to get there. Number two, I remember distinctly a post on the Facebook page once about, I think it was Whitney and Jenny were actually both talking about how they miss sweet potatoes. And I thought, how crazy is this that I have everybody on a nutrition plan that can't even eat sweet potatoes? So it felt a little bit too restrictive for people who actually liked some healthy carbs. So that's where I started looking at incorporating healthy carbs throughout the day, still in controlled amounts. So if you take a look at the macros chart, coming off of the program or other low carb diets, it may seem like a high carbohydrate diet, but it is not. It is generally about 40% carbohydrates. That's still a very moderate carbohydrate plan. The total carbohydrates compared to the program are probably about the same. It's just that on the original program, all those carbohydrates were focused around the workout, and now they're spread out throughout the day a little bit more. So it's really not a high carbohydrate plan. If anything, we just exchanged some protein for fats and added protein, took away fat, and that's basically more of a formula for a bodybuilding type of real getting shredded approach. That said, even the macros chart is still designed with 30% of the total calories in fat. So that is not a low-fat diet by any means. It doesn't appear to be high fat, but 30% fat is still a higher fat than a lot of people traditionally recommend, and I find that to be healthy and satiating and effective for reaching our goals and not killing ourselves in the process. One other point was that on some of the sample menus that I put together for the macros chart, I've got 2% yogurt with fruit spread in there. I've got bread in there. I've got things that weren't on the original program. And the reason for that is I also found that this has to be something, I wanted this to be something that people could slide into more easily from their baseline diet without totally doing a 180 and having them change everything they like. And what I found is that, and also I've researched this a ton, as you know, when you have, let's say, some sugar in your yogurt or bread with turkey or tuna, you don't really get the insulin response from those sugars and breads when they're combined with proteins. So in theory, we want to avoid those things because of the insulin spike. But in reality, when you test people and they combine it with protein, there is a blunted insulin response from those things. So you're not really seeing fat storage every time you eat, yogurt with sugar in it or some bread, as long as you're combining with protein and your total intake is under control. So there's certainly, I don't recommend a high sugar intake or eating tons of bread. I guess the point of the sample menu was the fact that you actually can have it though and still get lean. And I think that's really at the end of the day, the nuts and bolts of it is that you can eat a lot more things than you thought and still get into great shape and get really lean and still have some flexibility to have bread with jelly on it if you want, or you can have the cheese and peanut butter and crackers, and you can have just about anything you want as long as you understand how they fit into your macros and your overall plan. So to sum up, if you're into tracking and want to have more of a fast approach and one that can take you all the way to getting really, really lean, borderline contest style, the macros is the way to go. If you're looking more for an easier kind of lifestyle approach, not worried so much about really fast results, or you don't really feel like tracking and counting, then the original program, higher fat, low carbohydrate approach works well too. So hope that helps explain things. Feel free to comment on this with any additional questions that I'll try to clear up. Thanks, guys.